today I'm going to be making some pecan cookies. And they're actually called Chewy Pecan Cookies. And they're in one of my ebooks. I have it printed out. But this ebook is called Plant-Based Cookies, Whole Food Plant-Based Cookies. So in this recipe, I'll be using some pecans because it truly is pecan season. So in pecan season in the fall, hello, Dorothy, hello, Susan. In Texas, around this time of year, that's when the pecans are available everywhere that have been picked freshly and they're for sale in different places. But we like to go to a place called Oliver Pecan in San Saba. So their pecans, you can get them like this. These are already shelled and they sell them in the refrigerated section, and they have half pecan halves and they have chopped pecans. So I got both kinds. I got a couple of bags of these and a couple of bags of the others. Hi, Diane. Hi, Dylan. And they also sell cracked pecans. So this is another thing. You can sample the pecans that have just been picked, and they're in big bins. And so you can take them out of the bin and you can crack them with the little handy cracker, and you can just kind of taste them and see which ones you like. They had 3 different ones, and these are desirable. And then we got Hopi, which is another type. And those are the 2 types we got. And so they'll crack them for you. Hi, dogs. The dogs came to say hello. They'll crack them for you. And then what we like to do is we put them on the table in the kitchen. And then when people come over, they crack pecans and just munch on them. And they're the best tasting things you've ever had. They're nothing like grocery store pecans. I don't even know how to describe it, but they're fresh. They haven't been sitting around in a storage facility for a long time. So they're super good. They're good plain or toasted. So we always have those. And then we keep these around for baking and different things. So what I'm going to be doing today is make some cookies pretty quickly. Now, those of you who are following this are probably watching me do the 21-day challenge, which is to follow the Daily Dozen by Dr. Michael Greger, in an effort to lose weight and stick with it, which involves eating beans, grains, vegetables, fruits, some nuts, and berries, greens, lots of water, exercise every day. And I'm doing that. How do I fit pecan cookies in there? Well, I'm going to bring some to a friend. I'm going to give some to my husband. It only makes a dozen, so it's not a lot of cookies. And I may eat one just because, but during the Thanksgiving and Christmas, when there's an opportunity to have cookies around, to make cookies for people coming over or for dessert, it's good to have some recipes. So the purpose of doing this today is to give you a good recipe that you might be able to make that tastes really good, that doesn't involve butter, doesn't involve eggs, doesn't involve a lot of things that we don't eat. So I do have my ingredients measured out already because I find that a lot quicker than trying to, mess with a lot of measurements while I'm talking to you. So I'm going to go ahead and start mixing these things. This is one of those simple 1 bowl kind of cookies. And we just throw everything in a bowl, mix it up, cook the cookies, and we're done. So it's going to be really quick. And once I get the cookies in the oven, then I can talk to you a little bit about 21-day challenge stuff. So my ingredients are over here, and we don't really have to see them. You'll see them as I put them in the bowl. So we're going to use creamy almond butter, which I have already measured out at 1/2 cup. And if you have any questions along the way, I can read your comments and questions. I'm happy to answer them. I am going to be doing some more Thanksgiving recipes in the next few days. I've got to figure out a way to do that so that everybody can see the Thanksgiving recipe, but I still do a special live stream for the people that are my paid subscribers. Okay, so I've got my 1/2 cup of creamy almond butter. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of date sugar, and it's probably not even necessary, but I'm going to put them in there anyway. I mean, you probably could get by with just the maple syrup that's in this, but that's in my recipe, so I'll do it the way my recipe says to do it. And then 6 tablespoons of maple syrup. This is going to take a minute because I only have my 1 tablespoon measure. If I had my 1/4 of a cup, that would be easier. because 4 tablespoons is a fourth a cup. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, could you use date syrup? Yeah, you could use date syrup instead of maple syrup. But I'm using my original recipe, and it called for the maple syrup. So that's what we're going to use today. And it's going to taste great. These cookies they're chewy. They have a crunchy pecan on the top of them. And that's why whenever I get my pecans from Oliver Pecan, I'm anxious to make something that really highlights the pecans really well. Okay, it looks like we have about 6 people watching. That's great. Then if you don't live anywhere near San Saba, Texas, but you want to get pecans of your own, they have a big online ordering thing, so you could order them online. And I just got through speaking to Holt Oliver. He's the younger generation of the family, and I got to meet him when we went to that by the store the other day, and he was very nice. And we're getting some more pecans in the mail. So you can call there, you can get your pecans shipped to you. Don't have any kind of affiliate arrangement with them. I just like their pecans. And how we found out about them is my husband and I would go by there years ago. We're talking about a tablespoon of flaxseed. We're talking about 20 years ago. We would go by there and we would get pecans. And they weren't very big then. It was a smaller company, real small store. And there wasn't much to it, but, they had the pecan orchards and they sold their pecans. Well, now, this is a tablespoon of brown flaxseed. Now it's gotten really big, and I didn't even hardly recognize the store when we went in there the other day. It was so big. It was kind of like, I told him it reminded me of Buc-ee's. You probably don't know what Buc-ee's is, but here in Texas, we have Buc-ee's, which is it's like a super gas station that sells a bunch of trinkets and food and souvenirs and all kinds of stuff that nobody needs, just stuff. Okay, so now we're going to add the oatmeal, half a cup of oatmeal, and just regular old rolled oatmeal. And then I have cinnamon, teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon. When the teaspoon doesn't fit in the top of the spice jar, why do they make spice jars that don't fit these spoons? I have another set of spoons that aren't so fat. Okay. Dorothy says, I know Buc-ee's. I do not like Buc-ee's. That's probably, not the right thing to say, but I do not like them. Okay. I'm going to add, I have 3/4 of a cup of pecans. Or no, this is the cereal. Let me do the pecans. I have 3/4 a cup of pecans that have been processed in my food processor. And what that did is it made kind of like pecan flour almost, not quite that fine, but kind of. And I'm just kind of stirring things in as I put them in. Then I'll mix it all really well here in a minute. And then the last thing is I have cereal. And I ground it up in the food processor. It's a half a cup. And I didn't have my normal cereal. I'm going to put in my salt. My normal cereal is brown rice cereal. And I didn't have any, but I did have some wheat waffle cereal. And it's organic and there's nothing in it but whole wheat, a little sea salt, a little bit of cane sugar, but not much. So I'm using this time because I just couldn't find the brown rice cereal anywhere around where I live. I would have to go to the gourmet grocery store, which is kind of a drive. And I haven't had a chance to go there in the last couple days. 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Let me get my little spoon here. This is 1/8, so I'll put 2 of those. So put that in there. Now that's everything. That is the cinnamon, flaxseed, salt, cereal, maple syrup or date syrup, almond butter, crushed pecans. My oven's ready. Now I just have to get this mixed up. So let's see. One person joined. So anybody who's on, what kind of desserts, and you can answer this, what kind of desserts do you make for your Thanksgiving dinner that are plant-based and oil-free? Do you have any? Do you make any? Are you trying to find some? Because I have a lot of recipes for things that are traditional holiday recipes. In fact, I have an ebook called Plant-Based Holiday Table. It's available on my website, and it has some in there. And then I have the cookie ebook that has, I think it has 20 cookie recipes, and a lot of them are good for the holidays. And the last thing I have is I have a Thanksgiving class, and it's a 2.5 hour Zoom class. I'd have to get in here with my hands. This is not coming together as well as I thought it would. So the Zoom class I taught a couple years ago is called Thanksgiving Feast. And I made all kinds of really good recipes, everything from dressing, gravy, mashed potatoes, corn casserole, broccoli rice, sweet potato casserole, you name it. I made it for that class. It was great. And how I came up with that class was I went to a family Thanksgiving dinner, and everybody in this family brought all the family favorite foods. Let's see. Lottie says, I'm going to try a pumpkin chiffon pie that I used to make. The killer one, the old one before plant-based days. Okay, well, yeah, good luck. Let us know how it turns out. If it turns out good, you can post the recipe. You know, one thing I have found is that things with pumpkin, like pumpkin pie and stuff, when you don't have all the rich stuff in there, it doesn't taste all that great. You have to end up adding things like stuff with syrups and I don't know, you have to dates and syrup and stuff to make it really sweet, or it just does not taste all that great. I hate to say that, but I played around a lot with pumpkin pie recipes. And if you're used to eating the pumpkin pies that have, evaporated milk and, eggs and stuff, that adds kind of a richness that's missing when you try to just make it with almond milk. It's just not going to be the same. Wash it in real quick. So yeah, you can make holiday recipes taste good, but they're not going to be what you're used to. They're going to be good, but in a different way. So that's what I always have to tell people is it's not going to taste like what you grew up eating. That doesn't mean it's not going to be good. It's just going to be different. Okay, so I have my bowl of cookie dough here, and I have a sheet pan already set up. So that was quick. It's only been 10 minutes to make all this batter. And I just have a little kind of a scoop. And I'm going to make them, I don't know, they're not going to be super big, but they're not going to be really small either. They're less than 1/4 of a cup. So this is a couple of tablespoons. I'm going to use a whipped aquafaba for the egg whites. Okay. For those of you who don't know, aquafaba is the liquid from chickpeas or beans. Usually we use chickpea, garbanzo bean liquid from the can. Usually, I guess you could also use it from a pot of cooked chickpeas. And there's protein in the chickpea or the bean liquid. And that protein will help form things like whipped cream. You could actually make whipped cream with aquafaba. You can make French macarons. You can use it in baked goods, and it kind of replaces an egg almost. It's not exactly the same, but it has qualities that you might get from an egg. So I've got 8. And when I've made this before, it makes about a dozen. So yeah, experiment with aquafaba, flax, ground flax seeds that have been crushed up, and ground flax seeds mixed with water, like 1 tablespoon of ground flax seeds to 3 tablespoons of water will make something that is like an egg substitute. Some people don't like flax egg because some people say it gives food a weird taste. I don't like the taste, or kind of I can't remember how it was described, but I like it. I think it works good. And the last one, I kind of doing it by hand because it's hard to get out of the bowl when you get down to the end. But I got all of them. So I have all my little rounds, and I'm going to form them into rounds with my hands so they're a little bit more stuck together because this can be a little dry. So, yeah, and I have my other use for the pecans, my delicious Oliver pecans. I'm hoping that Oliver Pecan people see my video because it was funny one day. I got a email from them, the younger guy that owns the store, and he said, "We saw a videos that you make where you mention our pecans. Thank you." So, and it wasn't, I had no motives or anything. It was just because, it's a tradition for us. So I was kind of pleased to see that they actually noticed somebody was using their product and saying good things about it. It's kind of like I get the El Rey chocolates from Stonewall, Texas, Chocolates El Rey, and I use their chocolates because they're superior. And when I went there recently, they had my picture on the wall and it said, Chef Julia uses El Rey chocolates. And that was fun. But I also taught a class there one time, so they know me. Okay, so I've got all these balls here, and I'm going to press them down. You have to kind of press them down, or they're just going to be a big ball. My hands don't have to be wet because for whatever reason, this dough is not that super sticky. So I kind of, as I'm mashing them down, I shake them a little bit. What are you dogs doing? I hear them in here breathing. They smell my cookies, I'm sure. You can't give pecans to dogs, I found out. It's toxic to them. So I have to be careful when I'm making stuff with pecans not to drop them, because if they hear food drop on the floor, they'll come from the next room and grab it. Okay. Let me get these done and get them in the oven, and then we can talk about some more stuff while they're cooking. So I'm going to go see a friend of mine this afternoon, and I'm going to bring her some things. And one of the things I'm going to bring her is a few cookies. I can't bring her all of them because it doesn't make that many. And my husband will be sad if I don't leave plenty of these for him because he loves these. Okay, one more. And then we have one last thing to do. Sorry about that. We have one last thing to do. And that is to put a pecan on the top of each cookie because that kind of decorates it. So I have some pecan halves, and I'm going to put one on each cookie. I'm going to set them here on my tray. But what I found out is they don't stick very well unless you give them a little help. And the help I'm giving them is I have date syrup here. And I'm just going to dip the bottom in the date syrup. And then I stick it on the cookie, and that makes it stick to the cookie. Otherwise, it's just going to fall off as soon as the cookies come out of the oven. And this is a simple thing to do. Let's see. I see there's about 10 of you now. That's great. As always, if you have questions or comments, feel free. I could read your questions. I could read your comments. I don't see anything new. My next video later, I think on Saturday, I'm going to do one on potato soup. Is anyone interested in potato soup? And it's something that I made recently, but I made a very small amount, so I didn't have any left over. And then I was really sad because it was so tasty. So I decided I needed to make it again and make a big batch of it so I would have plenty left over. So that's what I'm going to do Saturday. And I like to make soup because it's something that you can put in the freezer and then it's available anytime you need a quick meal. I don't mind having soup for a meal. Okay, so now I have all the cookies. They each have a pecan on the top. You see how pretty that looks? Any idea how many calories for these cookies? Dorothy, I don't count calories. I don't like counting calories because, I spent too much time in my life worried about calories. I'm going to put these in for 9 minutes. So I kind of pick that up because, it's easy to get obsessed with calorie counting and then worried about, well, how many calories is in this? How many calories is in that? And that kind of takes the joy out of eating to me. So I don't worry about it, but I do think about what it has in terms of the daily dozen. So on the daily dozen, I know that it would count as a grain. So to me, one cookie would be like a serving of grains. So, because it's oatmeal, cereal, and then it has nuts. So it would be a serving of grains, a serving of nuts, maybe 2 cookies. And then, it has some of the other stuff in it I wouldn't really pay that much attention to. Oh, almond butter, so it has nuts. It does have maple syrup, which doesn't really count as any particular group, but, really something to be used sparingly. So, yeah, I would probably eat 2 of them and count it as a grain serving, and then not eat it too often, okay? Like, not every day, not every week, but here we are, we're in mid-November, and Thanksgiving is coming up, and there's gonna be opportunities for us to eat things that are sweet, like desserts. So my proactive way of handling that is to make something that I really like and have 1 or 2 of those. So then I don't feel sad when everybody's eating giant cakes and pies, and then I'm eating nothing because there's no plant-based dessert for me. So I kinda like the idea. Thirsty. I kind of like the idea. I don't like to use the straw. I usually only use that when I leave the house. Of having some of my own desserts. That's why I have a cookie ebook and classes on how to make, pumpkin bread, banana bread, muffins, cakes, and all kinds of stuff, because then I have something I can eat and I can bring that to an event, which really helps. If I get invited somewhere, I have tons of my own recipes that I've made over the last 5.5 years that I could pull out, and I'm happy to do that. So we have a few minutes while the cookies are baking, and I wanted to show you some things I've made this week so that I can, how I keep on with the 21-day challenge. So, for example, I have made pinto beans. I've got them here, and I still have quite a few. I made those on Monday, and I'll have to eat those here soon or put them in the freezer because after about 4 days, I don't keep things. I have some curry squash soup. I made it on the 10th, so that was Monday. And it's still great, and I've been eating it every day. You can see it. And so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to probably eat a cup for lunch, and I'm going to take some to my friend that I'm going to visit because she likes my food a lot, and she's plant-based. So I'll take her a serving of that. I've made tofu scramble yesterday, and that was a whole block of tofu. So I have enough to eat maybe 2 more breakfasts with this. But since I made it yesterday, the 11th, I'm going to have to have this eaten by maybe 3 days because, like I said, after 4 days, I either freeze stuff or get rid of it. And then the last thing, I have more stuff in this. So this is how I keep going. November 10th, Monday, I made chili, and we ate it for dinner. I've eaten 2 meals of the chili so far, and I still have a lot. Look how much it made. So I'm going to take some chili to my friend today, and then tonight I'll probably eat this for dinner. And I also still have cornbread left, quite a bit, wrapped up individually in the refrigerator, my other refrigerator. So these are things I'm taking to my friend, the 2 kinds of the chili, the soup, I think that's pretty much it, the chili and the soup. I'll make her cookies. And then my stir fry from last night, which I labeled. And this was delicious, delicious white oyster mushrooms, bok choy, carrots, onions, and black rice noodles. And then I made a sauce with soy sauce, tahini, garlic, ginger, vegetable broth. You can put a little rice vinegar in it, and it made the most delicious stir fry. I have to eat this within the next 4 days. So, and my husband ate it too, and he liked it, which is always a victory. So I can have stir fry sometime in the next few days. I don't think I'm going to bring this to my friend. I'm sure she would like it, but I want to keep it for myself. And I had some extra bean sprouts and bok choy that didn't get into my final stir fry. So I could eat that as a snack. Greens. Remember, we're supposed to eat greens every day. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So the reason I'm showing you this is because, if you look, I have this whole pile of stuff that I made, but I didn't do hours of meal prep in one day. I made a couple things on Monday. I made something on Tuesday. And here it is Wednesday. So every day I make something. And if I make one thing every day or two things, then for the next 4 days, I have things to eat. So I have breakfast food, I have soups, I have chili, stir fry, and beans. So I don't have to worry about, well, how am I going to get beans? How am I going to, eat beans 3 times a day? Dorothy says stir fries are always interesting. You can show how to make that, please. Yes. I had a lot of people asking me about my stir fry last night when I posted it on Facebook. And I taught a class a couple years ago called the stir fry class. And in that class, I show you how I make stir fry stuff, and it's got a lot of information in it. I highly recommend you go to my website and look at getting that class, because there's a 2.5-hour video with it and all the recipes, like several stir fry recipes. I can still come on and do a quick stir fry demo on here for my subscribers. In fact, let me write that down so I'll remember to do that for you, because stir fries are just absolutely delicious way to get. I don't have a pen. I have everything but a pen. I have tons of paper. Stir fries are a great way to get all the cruciferous vegetables, tofu, and mine had tofu on it, and all kinds of vegetables. And you don't have to use a lot of sauce. You can just take, like I said, vegetable broth, very, very low sodium vegetable broth, a little bit of low sodium soy sauce, just a squeeze of tahini, fresh garlic, fresh ginger, and some hot peppers. Can I buy the class via credit card instead of PayPal? Yes, Dorothy. Anybody can go on my website and buy any of my classes, and it gives you the option to use your credit card or PayPal. So you have the option when you get to the part, it's in your shopping cart and you purchase it. So don't be afraid to shop on my website. I have 63 classes on there. Everything from Korean food, comfort food, desserts, salads, Italian food, or this Thanksgiving feast, or the stir fry class. And each one comes with a 2.5-hour video and a detailed recipe packet. So you get to attend the class and you get all the recipes. And you don't have to watch the whole video if you don't want to, but you get all the recipes. And the prices of the classes are very reasonable. They're like $20. And the amount of time I spent to do the class, it's like 2.5 hours of me teaching a class plus the recipes. So to me, that's a pretty inexpensive price for a class that's high quality. But yeah, with stir fries, you can make them super healthy. They don't have to be salty. And also, if you ever try to get stir fries in an Asian restaurant, I think you'll find that they're so oily. It's like, I've watched people make stir fry stuff in restaurants, and what they do is they start with a huge ladle full of oil. That's the first thing that's put in there. Cookies are done. Beautiful. And I know they're done because I've made them before, and you don't want them to get cooked to the point where they're overdone, because then they get kind of hard. I wasn't able to do that for your breakfast ebook. I had no problem with the 21. I guess just send me an email and I'll have to check into it of why you weren't able to pay with your credit card. You should be able to, though. So with these cookies, we have to let them sit for a while before we transfer them. And then I will transfer them to, my wire rack and let them cool completely. You don't want to be eating these the minute they come out of the oven. But you can see they're really pretty cookies. They're when you eat them, the texture of them is really chewy and rich because it does have the nut butter. It does have, that almond butter in there. It has the nut flour made from pecans, and it has, just a lot of stuff in the cereal. So that kind of gives it body and texture. So, they're really good cookies. And so then if you have any questions, it looks like 13 people are watching. So for the 21-day challenge part, those of you who are following me on that, this was just me explaining to you some of the things I made this week, and that gives me meals. Where do I send an email? Okay, my email address is Julia Dunaway, Julia Dunaway, Dunaway @gmail.com. So you can send me an email about your issues with the whatever you were trying to purchase on my website, and I'll help try to make it easier for you. I have a website person that handles stuff, and if there's an issue, she'll always look into it for me. So make the cookies, and I will put links to my ebook where the cookies recipe is in the ebook, but I'll also give you this cookie recipe. It will be in a post. So the live stream will be on, and then there'll be a separate post with the recipe for the cookies. But yeah, you can. But if you want, 20 cookie recipes, get the whole ebook, and you'll have something with everything in it. And then, as far as sticking with the 21-day challenge, if you have any questions, you can ask me now. I'm happy to answer them. As for me, this is day 3, and I'm doing great. I've been able to check off all those groups. And I feel like yesterday I ate everything on the 24 check marks, except a couple glasses of water. And I just felt like it was so much food. So today I'm just not going to eat that much. It was just too much food for me. And what I'll probably do is I'll eat smaller portions of the food so that I don't feel so full. If you eat hummus, tofu, and beans, and, all these other grains and things, it's a lot of food. So, you have to kind of gauge how you feel when you're eating a lot of this food. So yeah, follow the 21-day challenge, the 24 check marks on the daily dozen, but also use common sense. If you feel like it's way too much food, and you feel better if you eat smaller portions of it, a little bit less based on your activity level and your age. At my age, 71 years old, maybe I don't need as much food as he talks about in the daily dozen. So I'll cut back a little bit. Not a lot, a little bit. So yeah, do whatever you need to do to be successful on the daily dozen. And, the activity, like I've already been out walking this morning for an hour. It was not as cold as it's been. Let's see if I can put one of these on the rack. Yeah, they're good. And the bottom is brown, but it's not too dark. So that's exactly how I want them to be. But whatever exercise you want to do, if you don't have a place to walk and walking is not your exercise, I have a friend who swims. You can swim, you can bicycle, you can do something indoors on a treadmill. I have a treadmill in my house that I use when the weather is terrible, so I don't have an excuse. Okay, so my pecans have stuck to the top. That was one thing I wanted to show you, is that they're not falling off. So yeah, do whatever exercise you can. The thing I'm struggling with the most is water, is that I'll get to the evening and I'll see that I haven't had my 5 12-ounce glasses of water or liquids that, I thought I was doing really well, but then somewhere during the day, I'm just not drinking as much water. So I'm having to really concentrate more on getting all the water in. There's our finished cookies. So does anyone have any questions before I sign off? I've been on for about a little over 30 minutes, so I don't want to keep these super long so that you won't find them tedious. I don't have any other words of wisdom today. My main one is cook. Okay, if you cook, you'll have food. So because I've been cooking every day this week since Monday, I have soup, I have chili, I have tofu scramble, I have cornbread. Now I've got cookies. I'm not going to eat those as part of my 21-day challenge. But cooking is important because if you don't cook, then you're going to be hunting around for stuff to eat. And our kind of food is not that easy to just throw together. Like, we don't just throw together a sandwich usually, although you could eat a sandwich. It's not the same as how easy it might have been when you were not plant-based. If you don't have something hearty that tastes good to you, then it's going to be hard for you to stick with this because you'll be thinking, oh, these frozen vegetables and canned beans, oh, this doesn't taste good. And you're not going to want to keep doing this. But if you make my chili down here, this delicious chili with freshly made pinto beans and black beans and all kinds of vegetables and good chili powder, then you're looking forward to eating that meal, especially with a nice piece of homemade cornbread. So those are the things that have kept me going. I know how to cook a lot of food that tastes really good to me, that I've made so many times that it's easy to make. I don't have to think about it too much. And so, and then I have plenty to eat for several days and it just keeps growing. Like when this is done, like I said, Saturday, I'll make potato soup. So by Friday, all of this will be done. So Friday, I'll have to cook something. Saturday, I'll make potato soup. Sunday, I'll make something, and then I'll start the cycle all over again. I'll have some delicious meals for the next few days. So I don't think you have to get into a situation where you're constantly cooking, meal prepping, because I think that sometimes people find that so tedious because they feel like, oh, I can't follow this unless I make 10 different things and I have all this prepped food, and otherwise it's just overwhelming. And then they give up. So don't give up. Looking forward to the potato soup. It's really good. Potato soup is delicious. So don't make it overly complicated. And if you're so busy, unlike me, I work from home and I love to cook. If you're busy and you don't have time to do this kind of thing, what you can do is you can always use canned beans and frozen vegetables. You really can. Now, I don't prefer that kind of thing because, I'm a chef. I'm kind of a food snob. And if it's processed or canned or frozen, a lot of times I don't think it tastes that good. But if that's all you can do, if you're doing good to, open a can and use canned stuff and frozen stuff and packaged stuff, as long as it's not processed, it's just the pure food, go right ahead. That's a fine way to get this food in your daily food plan. And then when you have a day where you can cook more, then cook more on that day. So do the best you can and you'll make progress. Okay, everybody, I'm going to start packaging up my food. Like I said, I'm taking some of this to my friend because she likes my food and I have plenty to share. And that's what I do a lot of times. And so then I'll also take her some cookies. Let me taste one. It's chewy. And the different cereal that I used, I remember I used the whole wheat waffle cereal. It's like a Chex, but it's slightly sweet. That actually tastes pretty good. Delicious flavor, and it has this crunch and chew. This makes me feel hopeful. Glenda says, yeah, you can do it. Do the simplest version if you have to, or do my version. Remember, I have the 21-day challenge meal plan ebook on my website, and it goes through 7 days of every meal. And you don't have to eat every meal and every recipe in there, but it gives you some ideas. And I think there's a stir-fry noodle thing in there. So, but I will do a live on that. Anyway, the cookies are really good. And I know my friend's going to love this. And I'm also bringing her a gift. It looks like this. At the store, the Oliver Pecan store, they had these beautiful tea towels. And they both are. One of them says, I'm always with you. And the other one says, cardinals appear when angels are near. Well, I lost my son last year. She had a loss as well. So I'm bringing her one. And that was in the Oliver Pecan store, which I thought that was so nice that they had some pretty gifts. So I've put those on my oven here. So whenever you see my cooking, you see my cardinals. And I love cardinals. And I also got a cardinal, a little bird. So every time when my mother died, whenever I would see a cardinal, I would think of her because I had read that, cardinals are a symbol of your loved ones. And my mother was also a big bird watcher. And if you ever watch my videos, you'll see sometimes that I have a ton of bird feeders. I don't know if you could see out there, but if you keep, when you're watching my videos, look out the windows because there's bird feeders out every window. And sometimes when I'm doing a demo, people will tell me that they're watching the birds behind me, and beautiful birds will come up and they'll see them fly up and eat in the bird feeders. So I love birds, especially cardinals. All right, everybody. I will be back on Saturday. I'm doing, for the paid subscribers, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday at 11 o'clock. So if you want to put it on your calendar, and these videos will be me cooking something usually because I don't want to just talk. If I make a video, I want to be doing something in the kitchen because that's what I do. I'm not a podcaster. I'm not one that wants to just, do a lecture or something. Although I will talk, I want cooking to be a part of it. So I'm glad you're attending. And hopefully if you're watching the recording, you can also, make this if you want to. And I will put links to the things I've talked about. And I'll also put the recipe today on my post. There'll be this live stream, and then I'll do a post that you'll get. It'll have the recipe for today, my progress on the 21-day challenge, and a couple other things, exercise. I'm trying to kind of tell you what I'm doing. And it's always Central Time, Dorothy. So I'm trying to share with you how I'm following the 21-day challenge in greater detail than I have in the past. I don't think I ever shared my daily weight with people. It's kind of scary, but I don't have anything to hide, so no big deal. I'm asking you to follow along with me, so you might as well see how I'm doing. So I will be talking to you again in a couple days, and I hope you make these delicious cookies. And don't forget about Oliver Pecan in San Saba, Texas. They're a great company. Bye-bye, everybody.